Back in February, in case you all forgot, Kendrick Lamar was performing Not Like Us at the Super Bowl. This isn't about him, but I'm just setting the stage. Many took note of the fact that during this performance, Serena Williams, tennis superstar, Compton native, and Drake X was dancing on the proverbial grave of the man known as Champagne Mommy Come Pick Me Up, They're Being Mean. Now, because this happened at a sporting event, face of ESPN and LeBron hater Stephen A. Smith felt compelled to comment on the performance as well as Serena Williams' involvement in it. This is what it sounded like.
Goodness.
I'm just like, I would have.
Serena, like, let's just give her.
Well, you can say give her a props, but I'm just. But Shannon brought it up, so I'm going there. I'm going to be like, if I'm your husband, I'm like, why are you up there dancing or something?
Already concerning. If I'm her husband, I'm like, insert anything here, probably not called for, but let him cook.
Why are you up there dancing or something? I wanted my lips, trolling your ex.
Why are you up there on stage at the Super Bowl trolling your ex? Derapy. Now, I know you probably tapped or clicked on this episode expecting Stephen A to get his comeuppance, and his time will come. But him merely asking the question of why she was up there wasn't enough to have him being pressed. He would continue to speak on not just Serena, but what her actions could mean as far as her relationship status.
What Stephen A is saying, if he was in that situation and now he's married, he's not allowing none of that's happening.
Hold on, no.
That's what he said.
If I'm married and my wife is going to join trolling her ex, go back to his ass.
This is on ESPN.
First of all, Stephen A. Smith isn't married and has never been married, so lower your tone. And I know that a fan of Stephen A. may say, he's not telling Serena's man what to do, he's just saying what he would do. But like, brother, it's Serena Williams, grown woman, married woman. You think she didn't explain the circumstance and opportunity to her man? Also, because we're only 2 minutes and 4 seconds in, I know that most of you are still here, and I want you to take this away from today's show if nothing else. Normalize not having a take on everything. A dear friend of mine told me that once. Just because you're in a situation where you could get a take off doesn't mean you have to. You just don't need to. Think about this. It's a big moment. It's a show shortly after the Super Bowl. Lots of people watching First Take. It's the big 2025. I know that you're trying to get a clip off, but we're talking about the love of somebody's life, the mother of their children. You coming out and saying, well, if it was me, you know, if you trying to troll your ex, you might as well go back to his ass. On live TV, can we please be serious? But putting aside my general disdain for Stephen A. Smith's TV presence, that was 8 or 9 months ago, so why are we even talking about it today? This past week, Serena Williams' husband came on to Stephen A. Smith's show First Take, and he basically said straight to Stephen A. Smith's face, I heard you was talking.
Well, also, too, Stephen A. Smith, I think you had some marriage advice for me. Is that right? Or?
Well, you know what? Listen, I didn't. People, headlines are headlines.
Folds immediately.
We can get into that another time, but I was
hoping you were going to be here.
I'm not. Oh no, I am not qualified.
He's stuttering and stumbling.
Married?
Right.
Oh no, not me.
Well,
I ain't qualified, my brother. I'm not qualified.
I was going to ask because you hadn't been married before, right?
I am married.
No, Stephen. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, because I give advice to plenty of founders who want to build billion-dollar companies. And the reason I do that is because I build billion-dollar companies.
Yeah.
So I generally try to stay in my lane as advice
Then
department.
we'll talk marriage advice later.
Stephen A. tried to back off instantly. I wasn't giving any advice. I'm not qualified. I didn't say that. It was headlines, and Alexa said, brother, I'm gonna have to get this off, okay? Listen, buddy. I build billion-dollar businesses, so I give advice on billion-dollar businesses. You've never had a love. So don't talk about what you would do, brother.
Advice later. I'm going 13 years strong. We got
Deal.
you. Alexis, thank you so much. Athlos NYC 2-night event.
Yeah, throw to break.
Now look.
Where?
Stephen A. Smith was talking a little goofy back in February. Serena's man said, I'ma see you when I see ya. Spins the block 2 whole seasons later and says,
keep my wife's name out your fuck.
Now, what Stephen A. Smith may not have known, but Serena's husband definitely did, is that the same dance she did at the Super Bowl with Kendrick, she did at a tennis match years ago, and she got all types of awful negative feedback from it. Alexis, her husband, said literally the day after the Super Bowl that it was a fantastic performance and this was bigger than the music. So Serena did not just pop out to take shots at L'Aubrey State Graham. She was making a point far greater. similar to the one that Kendrick was likely making with some of the artistic choices during the show, the red, white, and blue theme, America's Game, Uncle Sam's character, so I could understand why her husband was like,
Oh, brother, whoa, now.
and this is just another situation that Stephen A. Smith has found himself in, speaking on somebody's family, just like he did with LeBron James, where he had to get checked for it. Now, this could have just ended here, and let's be real, it's not that deep. Stephen A. talks a little crazy, gets checked later in the year, we have a laugh, we move on. But of course, because it's Stephen A. Smith and he's chronically online, he would drop a full response to people's response to him getting checked on his own show. And just listen to how down and defeated he sounds.
Serena Williams, you know, she is married to billionaire Alexis Ohanian, and he came on First Take today to promote some new event that he's got going on with Atheos and all of that. And, you know, people are talking about how he came at me, you know, and took a sly dig.
Was it a sly dig? It seemed relatively direct. He was like, I heard you had some marriage advice for me. What could he possibly be referring to? What is sly about it?
You know, because of what I said and, you know, when Serena Williams was on stage performing at the Super Bowl. I've never met this man. I wish I was in studio today, but I'm not. I have a speaking engagement, so I'm out of town. That's why I was not there today. It would have been nice to meet him. I don't know the man. I have nothing against him whatsoever. I don't recall saying a negative word about him.
You didn't say a negative word about him. You said a negative word about his wife. About how if you had a woman, if you had a wife that was giving energy to her ex, then you would tell her to go back to him.
It's just that when Super Bowl Sunday took place, when Kendrick Lamar was performing, Serena Williams came on stage, you know, dancing to all of that. And according to the reports and stuff like that, she's the ex of Drake. Essentially, what I said was, why that energy for an ex? If, you know, that was my wife, I don't want to see that. And so because of that, that's what he was alluding to. You know, I'm glad that it didn't escalate or anything like that. He is her husband. He loves her dearly. They have 2 wonderful children together. And I have absolutely no issue with him whatsoever wanting to address that situation with me because that's her husband. And I certainly meant no disrespect towards him at all.
Well, that's nice. That's like almost an apology. We appreciate it, Stephen.
I was just saying that men, knowing us as men, you know, if we're married and our wife is showing energy towards anybody else, even in a negative way, we're asking ourselves, if you're happy, why show that energy?
He's doing it again.
Why simply apologize for seemingly overstepping when you can just double down and say that the typical man may assume their partner is unhappy? Buddy, people flamed her for crip walking at the Wimbledon. She want to do it again at the big game to show that's who she is, you know? If it bothers that Aubrey guy, it's just bonus points. But instead of trying to educate himself on the background and the significance, or just simply apologizing, or just not saying anything at all, or maybe reaching out to the man behind the scenes, he's just like, nah, I'm just saying though, why you giving it that energy?
You know, that's it. But that's all it was. But I wasn't going to get into it on national television. I'm a professional.
But you already did.
Now, if it had escalated and he wanted to get into it more, we'd kept the cameras rolling. I'd have said fine.
Oh, so you're not a professional and you would have gotten into it on national television.
But he was sitting there saying, you guys were married, right? So, you know, you give him marital advice. That's how he framed it. He says, I give advice about building companies because that's what I do, essentially implying that I'm not married, so who am I to say something like that? I'm saying paraphrasing.
That's pretty much what he said. He's just yammering. I just wanted to talk about this because everything that I see from Stephen A. Smith or First Take or anything, all the clips are always negative. Stephen A. is getting pressed. He's putting his foot in his mouth. He's playing solitaire during the NBA Finals. He's getting pressed by LeBron James. He's getting pressed by Serena's husband. It's almost sad. You would think at this point in Stephen A. Smith's career, he would stop finding himself in situations like this, but I think he just can't help it. He has to have a take on everyone and everything, and these situations will continue to occur. Things that he said earlier this year or last year or years ago will continue to haunt him because there is a never-ending sea of bad Stephen A. Smith takes where he's talking about things that are simply none of his business. That's all I got for y'all today. Hey, just normalize not having a take on everything. And if somebody's like, hey man, you talking kind of crazy, you may have overstepped, just say, hey, I was tripping. Can we please normalize a good old-fashioned, hey, my bad, bro? I feel like we would all be so much better off if we could just be like admitting our wrongs here or there. But yeah.
Like the video.
If you think Stephen A. Smith should keep it shut more, comment something you think should make
Wing Wong Wednesday
tomorrow, because Stephen A. Smith is not the only person who deserves to get goofed on this week. But yeah, love you, mean it, spread the bread, and enjoy the outro.
But the efforts make the prophecy. Taking trips to DR like I'm addicted to the doctor's fee. If I had a dream, ain't nobody ever stopping me. So if you ever had a dream, put your hands up. And if you ever had a